He's lost, all alone in this cave, but he smiles when he feels someone nearby. Only when he turns the corner, the kid's expression changes. Eyes wide open, and right in front of him there's a skeleton with a huge bug stuck on its head. The thing lunges in to bite him and almost catches his leg. He's wondering why there's another monster, when he literally just fought one. It's the same kind of creature that bit his arm earlier, and it looks like some kind of parasite, because it's attached to the monster's neck. But whatever it is, if he beats it up, it should eventually die. Except it doesn't, because his bat shatters. The monster turns and it bites straight into his shoulder. The protagonist blocks it with what's left of the bat and shoves it back, but the creature comes again, grabs him by the face, slams him to the ground, and now it's chewing on the kid's little arm. He reaches to the side, manages to grab a rock, and starts smashing it into the thing's head until it falls back. Furious, he gets up and crushes the creature into the ground until there's nothing left of it, not even the bug. He's exhausted, his vision shaking, when he notices a whole swarm of creatures coming toward him, all of them with parasites on their heads. I thought he was just going to give up on life, but he stands up anyway and says he's going to see this through to the end. He charges in, throws a punch into the first one's mouth, but gets hit with a little bite like some starving dog. He still manages to twist and fire back with an elbow to the head, but another one jumps on him and throws him down. He tries to roll to get out from under it, when suddenly a strange blue mist says this is interesting. When he looks to the side, there's a little blue demon-looking thing flying there. He's wondering if he's gone insane, if he's poisoned, or something like that. The creature just says that for someone on the edge of death, none of that matters. If he wants to survive, he should grab it. Seeing the swarm closing in, he runs at it, jumps, grabs it at the last second, and suddenly a blue aura expands through the room. The smoke from that wave-like effect breaks apart and starts flowing toward him, turning into a baseball bat. He's standing there thinking, why would something random like that happen? But there's no time because another creature is coming. He grits his teeth and drives the bat straight into the middle of its chest, completely obliterating it. Only guts and half a torso hit the floor, totally wrecked. He realizes there's some weird power running through his body. Obviously, it has something to do with that thing he grabbed. He has no idea what it is, but with this bat in his hands, I'm sure he could clear this dungeon by himself. But before that, we rewind and find out our protagonist was basically a bat genius. Suddenly someone calls him, and it's this 700-year-old man, asking if he has a game today. He says yes, today is the big final. The old man says their bet still stands. If he loses even once, he'll shave his head, work at the temple, and give up on that dream. The protagonist says that's not going to happen. When someone calls him again, a sleepy girl asks if he's leaving already, and he asks why she woke up so early. She just tells him to hold out his hand and stop being a wimp. She drops a doll into his hand and he goes, "What is this?" She says he must be blind because it's obviously a really cute doll. He says it doesn't look that cute. Seeing she's getting annoyed, he thanks her and pats her head, asking why she's suddenly being so nice. Then he gets kicked, and the old man tells them to come back safe like always. He grabs his big bat, says he'll be back soon, and heads to the tournament. It's the school baseball championship final, and he's getting ready for that pitch. Everyone in the stadium is watching what they call the most talented batter in Korea. The pitcher winds up, pulls his arm back, stares him down while the protagonist smiles. Then he fires it like a cannon, boom, straight at him. But the kid looks ready, tracking the ball and swinging for a full power hit. It almost killed him. The ball flew like a bullet past the side of his head and shot up into the sky, landing in the stands. Like always, he hits another home run. You can tell the kid's got talent. He was a promising young player, but we already know he's going to end up in another world, so at some point he has to die. He's walking home thinking, good, he won the school championship. There's no way he won't get into a real team now. Then he gets hit in the chest, and that same girl from before tells him to wake up and get it together. They bicker in a dumb way, going up the stairs talking, all cheerful, while she says, of course he won. She gave him a lucky charm. He tells her to hurry up so they can eat dinner, but when he opens the door, there's someone standing over the bald old man's body. The person starts turning around and the girl still hasn't even noticed someone's there. Then both of them call out for the master. The protagonist is confused, but the hooded person says this has nothing to do with her. He gets cut off when the protagonist swings the bat at his face, forcing him to dodge. Right away, he tells Yena to run, but she asks what he's going to do. He just tells her to get out of here, and she bolts. He's wondering who this person is, why they're in the temple, and what happened to the master. The hooded guy moves like he's in the Matrix, saying he'd like to explain, but he doesn't have time. He shows a crystal and says it's a shame things turned out like this. Before the protagonist can understand, the guy shoots forward like a bullet, grabs him by the neck and strikes him in the chest, telling Kim Dan to find someone named Einar. The protagonist notices the stranger's face looks like his, and then the floor breaks apart under him and he falls into the void. That's when he suddenly looks to the side and finds himself in that strange cave. Next to him there's an egg from that creature, but he quickly realizes it's actually a whole nest. Then the thing starts hatching, crawling out of the egg, and he's thinking, what is happening? Where am I? Before he can react, it latches onto his arm, stabs him, and looks like it's trying to parasitize him. Luckily, he just shakes his arm hard and flings it away. But his arm immediately feels like it's burning. That's when he sees his bat right there beside him, grabs it, and another one comes. He hits it and knocks it away. He runs to the end of the cave and sees a river, and since those creatures, those 8-legged bug things, maybe they can't swim, he jumps in. The creatures come up to the water but really don't go in. But then he feels another pain racing through his body because a bunch of leeches are sucking on his legs. The poor guy can't get a second of rest. He gets out of the water, throws the disgusting things off, and wonders why there are monsters everywhere he goes. What place was this? And why didn't it even feel like the same world he lived in? Then he sees the little doll Yenna gave him and wonders if she's okay. Did that white-haired guy do something to her? Either way, he has to stay calm and survive first. He starts to get up, but there's a huge predator behind him. Something drips onto his shoulder, and when he looks back, Huh, what is that? Too late, he gets hit again and thrown back. He thinks he has to get out of there, spots a small cave opening at the back of the chamber, gets up, runs for it, tries to slip through, and the monster comes after him. Its huge mouth almost makes it through, but it gets stuck on the other side. A swipe comes in and almost takes his eye out. He jumps back, and for a second his future kids almost disappeared. He's basically about to pee himself staring at this predator, but finally the creature turns away. He relaxes because it looks like it gave up, but his arm still doesn't feel right. It had to be from that earlier insect, and he can't even feel it properly. What kind of place is this where his life is in danger every 5 minutes? He needs to get out of this cave. He can't just keep hiding. That's when he follows the light, and we already know what happens. He runs into that creature again. After he awakens that baseball power and destroys the first one, he says he doesn't know what's going on, what this power is, but it's enough to blow through everything there, and just like that the floor is covered in carcasses. Now he wants to understand what this bat is. He can feel power running through his body, like some kind of magic, but then the bat suddenly breaks apart and turns into flames, and he doesn't get it. A mouth appears in the middle of the flames, flies out, and eats one of the bodies. Not just one, it's devouring the whole floor. After it cleans out the room, the strange flame returns to him and kind of fills back into the bat. Then he feels that old man heart attack feeling, like he almost died. But at the same time, the pain starts fading and his arm begins to regenerate. Not just his arm, every cut, bite, and hit he took. On top of that, his muscles are getting weirdly stronger. Whatever the deal is with this bat, it's powerful. He didn't just gain a ton of attack, he also got a way to regenerate. Surviving should be easy now, except for the fact that he's starving. He finds some mushrooms out of nowhere and doesn't suspect a thing. But maybe it's the best he can do for now. The bad part is that some mushrooms can be extremely poisonous, and he's in another world. He reaches that conclusion and still decides to eat them. So yeah, the kid isn't exactly a genius. He says he'd rather die poisoned than die of hunger. Just so you know, you can survive like 30 days without eating, you'll just get kind of skeletal. But his gamble pays off. He says it's delicious. It really was a bet he won. After getting some strength back, he starts collecting things he'll need to survive. He even goes back to that leech water. Gross as it was, at least he can drink it. He also grabs the leeches themselves. Since technically he might be able to eat them, he doesn't know if it's thanks to the bat, but nothing bad happens. He still doesn't know what cave this is, but surviving is possible. Still, more and more monsters show up, like this Morlock that attacks him instantly without thinking twice, but it gets met with a smack to the head. The protagonist notices that every creature that attacks him is always parasitized. And the good part is that every time he kills one, the staff bat eats the creatures again. The moment that happens, his body strengthens. He gets stronger. That's how he starts adapting to this place. The only creature he always runs from is that apex predator. That one, no, he doesn't have the guts for it. The good part is it only shows up once in a while, like it's guarding the nest. But he realizes something. After walking everywhere, he's on the wrong side of the exit. Because he's already reached every corner of this map, and the only way is to go back to where the eggs were and pass into another room. His sense of direction is pretty good. The problem is that means going through the room with that predator. How is he supposed to face that thing if he gets caught out in the open? His motivation starts running out, and he wonders, if he manages to get out and go home, will he ever see his family again? What if he's trapped here forever? Who was that guy? Finally, he decides he can't solve any of that until he gets out of here first. We're back in the egg room. A bunch of those little creatures are walking around, and at least the big one isn't there. For someone with the worst luck, he finally gets a tiny bit of good fortune. He notices the creatures aren't very sensitive, so he starts moving through slowly with a little smile on his face, obviously wiped off the second he snaps a bone. But strangely, he looks over and the creatures don't react. His nerves are through the roof, but he's celebrating because for some reason it's easy. He makes it through the room and leaves the nasty bugs behind. But then he walks into another chamber with a hole in the ceiling, and a whole bunch more eggs. The room is closed, so it's another dead end. The answer is obvious. He needs a way to reach that ceiling so he can get to that light. But then the ground under his feet moves. He looks down. Yeah, great. He stepped on the predator. It whips around and lashes him, hitting him right in the middle of the chest and slamming him into the floor. He gets up gasping, stomach in pain. Looks like this last room is where the creature rests. And it charges immediately, going for another huge bite. He's trying to stand, staring it down. He swings the bat into the attack and actually manages to draw that green blood, and he's got some nerve now. He looks at the monster and says, "So, what'd you think? Different from before?" The monster charges again, but now strangely, he realizes he can actually see the attacks coming, and the kid notices that whatever happened to his body, he's on a whole different level. He lands another hit right in the monster's weak spot, and it starts writhing in pain. Seriously, how is this 4'7" kid fighting a 6-story tall creature? I have no idea. But seeing the wounds he's leaving, he gets fired up, saying he's gonna win. Yeah, that's when things go bad because he just said the one thing you shouldn't say. All of a sudden the thing opens its huge mouth and lets out a roar. The whole place starts shaking. He has no clue what's happening, but it's obvious it's calling every creature in the nest. You're gonna need some new kind of power, because I don't think a stick is gonna cut it anymore. Oh right, didn't think about that. He's already starting to kill with the bat. Maybe the creature brought him stuff to kill and recover with, you know? Look, the ground's already covered in dead monsters while he's standing there panting. He thinks at this rate it'll never end and he's gonna die. And wait, I thought he'd landed a perfect hit, but actually he's the one who got stabbed in the chest. Damn straight through. But then what the hell, the protagonist manages to smash the monster's leg and break it. The creature howls and he manages to pull himself free, shove the leg away, but he's basically making a pool of blood. He's gasping, his vision's going blurry, everything going black and white. This is turning into Resident Evil. It's probably from blood loss, but there are still a bunch of those things closing in. Movie scene, they all leap and freeze midair and he wonders if this is it, if this is where he dies. But then, out of nowhere, Yena appears beside him and tells that idiot not to give up. He needs to get up because she and the master are waiting. Then she turns into blue smoke, telling him to stay on his feet. The protagonist snaps back to reality. He looks to the side, reaches for the bat, watching that line of little monsters hanging in the air, jumping in. A burst of blue flame explodes, slamming the creatures into the wall. Now the protagonist standing there wearing a half mask. Honestly, it's got style. Half mask, flames everywhere, saying he's sick of insects. The predator is roaring at him, and the protagonist charges with a storm of fire. He pulls the bat back and hold on. Did he just evaporate the whole thing? Pieces drop, arms bits like it just disintegrated. No wonder he was Korea's most professional bat swinger. All that's left is the creature's lower legs. Flames start pouring off the bat again and the thing goes in for another bite. The predator's body gets shredded completely. Even the protagonist is freaked out by the sounds. But then the energy starts flowing into him. This kid is not making it to 20, no question, because he drops again with that chest pain. The good part is that after the pain he starts regenerating until even the hole in his chest disappears. He says it hurts like hell and he'd really rather never go through that again. But obviously, since that creature was way stronger than the others, the amount of strength he feels he gained is insane. Wait, I thought that hole was in the ceiling. Looks like he blasted a hole through the side with that strike. Either way, good news, they got out. Bad news, it's a damn desert. At least he's motivated. It's not exactly better than a cave, but it beats being trapped. Yeah, I figured that wouldn't last long. He collapses, saying maybe it's not that great after all. The place is way emptier than he expected. There's nothing to drink, nothing to eat. All he's found so far are skeleton monsters, which is the worst possible thing. They drop nothing. There isn't even anything to bite on those bones. He can't believe he fought that hard to stay alive just to end up dying like an idiot in this dried-out wasteland. Is this world he's in the place where humanity got wiped out? When he opens his eyes, all he wants is for this to be a dream, and for him to be somewhere else. Unfortunately, that's not what happens. He opens his eyes and sees the white-haired guy telling Chloe to be careful. The little girl celebrates, saying he looks like he's still alive. A bit later, she's standing there with her arms crossed, telling him to stop crying because he looks ugly. He's like, for the love of God, help me. You're the first people I've seen here that I can actually talk to. The white-haired guy tells him to calm down a little. It'd be better if they rested for a second. Chloe says no way. They've got a long day ahead. He wants to rest now. He says they can't just start walking with him in that condition. And besides, she looks pretty happy to have found another person, so it'd be better if he didn't die. She makes an annoyed face, turns away, and says she gets it. So she starts making soup. The protagonist is stunned. It's been a long time since he ate anything real. The girl asks if he hasn't eaten in days, and he says yeah. Obviously, he hasn't taken a single bite of anything in 5 days. Chloe says that's basically the limit for staying alive. The white-haired guy just stares, and the protagonist isn't the type to keep secrets. So he blurts out, yeah, I think I'm alive because of this power I got absorbing monsters. Just like that, he says it. The man says he's never heard of magic like that, and since he said magic like it was totally normal, the protagonist asks if magic exists in this world. The blonde girl says of course it does. Where's he from that he doesn't know about magic? He says it's a long story. And the guy hands him the soup. They tell everything. By nightfall, they know about the protagonist's ability. The blonde girl comments that for a night, there are barely any zombies or skeletons around. The protagonist says that's because he wiped them all out using this. She doesn't get it, while the white-haired guy thinks it doesn't matter how many times you kill the undead. They come back. But the kid said something about absorbing, so maybe that's connected. He thanks him because of the kid. They'll actually get a good night's sleep. Anyway, since he has nowhere to go, he goes with them until he can get back to his original world. The little girl asks Aries what he thinks he's doing while they're staring at each other. The protagonist is all sparkly and sentimental, saying he really appreciates it. The girl clearly doesn't like that. Next day, they're collecting cacti in the desert, and the protagonist says Chloe knows a lot. She says, yeah, if you're crossing a desert like this, that's the bare minimum. He makes a weird face. She kicks him and he says she reminds him of his annoying little sister. They keep talking and the protagonist says he learned from Ares about monster ecology and how to fight, and he also found out those two are here to kill some kind of boss. The protagonist is sure he got lucky. These don't seem like normal people in this world, because they're clearly good. It's night. The protagonist is in his tent, and Ares comes by for a late-night visit. Come on, where are the women in this story? Just because the kid's a pro bat swinger, it's gotta be all guys? Not a fan. They talk about what he thinks of this world, and the protagonist says it's kind of boring. Of course, the next scene is him running from some kind of gigantic dragon. They're both sprinting. He tells Chloe to go first. The thing gets closer. He pulls the bat back, smacks it in the head, and now it's all dazed. But then it plants its foot, and damn it swings a claw and blasts the protagonist flying. Chloe calls out for Dan, and then she looks up, and wow, I've never seen a dragon jump in for a bite like that. But suddenly something shoots past like a bullet and slices the thing in half. Ares, looking bored and stylish, asks, "You two okay?" The protagonist gets up, all beat up, saying, "I'm fine. It's nothing." Then the spirit comes out of the bat and starts consuming the creature. It's the first time Ares and Chloe have seen something get devoured like that, and the protagonist regenerate. She asks if that's the absorption he was talking about, and he says, "Yeah, that's more or less how it works." Ares is even more impressed that both the corpse and the mana disappeared. Then he gives Dan a look and says there's something he wants him to do. Cut to later that night, Chloe says it's insane. "What do you mean he wants Dan to fight the Lich? That's basically sending him to die. They should stick to the plan and kill it alone, since that's what they came here to do." He tells her he won't force the kid if he refuses. She stays angry, saying the kid has no idea how strong a Lich is, it's way too dangerous. But from a distance, the protagonist says he'll try. All he needs is to know the plan. Next scene, Ares explains that before they go into that fight, they need to figure out exactly how Dan's powers work, what the limits are, how much he can recover, how much he can absorb, stuff like that. The protagonist thinks he really does need that, because if he's going to fight, he has to know what he can and can't do. But then the next scene, he's just standing there staring at the bat on the ground like, what are we doing here? Chloe explains they're going to measure mana, and he's like, "Wait, I have mana too?" She says he should, because everyone in this world has mana. Ares says he'll need to do a full check on the kid, and weirdly the protagonist gets all shy like, "Hey, don't look at me like that. Dude, what the hell?" Obviously it wasn't like that. Ares just puts a hand on his shoulder, comes up behind him, and starts going in. He literally goes inside the kid. For real. He's in there seeing the mana heart staring at the shadow of fire. He pulls his hand back, looking shocked. The protagonist asks, "You done?" Ares says unfortunately yes, but he didn't learn anything, and he's thinking it's hard to classify this kid as having normal mana. It's more like there's another being living inside his body. That power is clearly dangerous. Next chapter, Mr. Skelly is walking along, looks to the side, and bam, gets a rock to the mouth and drops. It's been a while since the protagonist fell into this land. He doesn't know exactly, but it's around 3 months. He's lost count of how many monsters he's absorbed. His body is far from what you'd call human. One thing's for sure, he noticed every part of this world is packed with monsters. But at least he's got companions at his side. Later, they're eating, laughing, having fun while Ares watches. It looks like the protagonist has been training his mana control, but unfortunately, it's not going very well. Ares expected that, and the kid doesn't even seem like the magical type. He tells him not to give up because he clearly has some kind of energy in him, so it's only a matter of time before he learns how to control it. He says he's looking forward to the fight against the Lich, until Ares says no, he's not going to fight the Lich directly. He might look strong, but he's nowhere near the level needed for that. The only thing he has to do is absorb the corpse at the end. Wow, that's nice. So he farms and the other guy gets the experience? What a life. Ares stands up and says it'll happen in a few days, and time starts passing. Walk during the day, kill monsters at night, eat at night, walk during the day, sleep at night, walk during the day, sleep at night. Poor Chloe, she's exhausted. Ares says they're almost there. But seriously, you're kind of cruel. Why are you going to kill this Lich? Look where it's hiding. Just let it sleep out there alone. They pass through something like the Grand Canyon and finally reach the Lich's tomb. I thought it'd be a dungeon packed with monsters, but as they walk in, it's actually pretty empty. Inside, Ares says to be careful, anything can happen in there. The protagonist says it's funny. He's talking like a ghost is going to pop up behind them, and he turns around and that's exactly what's there. The little ghost says, "How'd you find me, kid?" He freaks out and smacks it in the mouth with the bat, and it dies. The three of them leave, confused that his bat worked on a spirit too. On the way, the protagonist asks what a Lich is. Ares explains they're the rulers of the world of the dead. It's the Lich that creates resurrection and commands all the skeletons in that place. In theory, if a Lich comes back with all its strength, it builds an army of undead to destroy the world, and that's why it has to be killed before it recovers that strength. Yeah, now I get why we had to come to the end of the world to hunt it. The problem with a Lich is that every time you kill it, 100 years later it comes back. That's when he got an idea after seeing Dan's power. And if he absorbs the Lich, does that mean he'll never come back? The protagonist hesitates for a second and says, well, it actually sounds like a good idea. He goes first though, wanting to know if everything's really going to work out according to the plan. He can't absorb all the monsters, and on top of that, he doesn't even know how he's supposed to control it. But right at that moment, the idiot goes ahead alone, doesn't he? just to step on the trap by himself. Ares yells at him to be careful, but it's too late. There's a pentagram circle straight from hell under him, and the kid vanishes on the spot. All of that so the protagonist has to face the Lich alone. But Ares moves fast. The kid disappears, and he's already sprinting, grabs Chloe and rushes forward, saying they need to get out of there quickly. He's telling himself he can't forget this is the kind of place where surprises always happen. The protagonist is completely wrecked on the ground in that Yamcha pose, then gets up trying to figure out what that light was. Where is he? What the hell is this? That's when he notices it. He's standing face to face with this huge gate like some giant 3D skull door. It's pretty obvious this is the Lich's room. He's sure of it. The good part, he didn't lose any limbs and he's alive. All he has to do is stay calm and wait for Ares, who right now is tearing through Mr. Skeletons at full speed. Ares is telling Chloe that what Dan stepped on was a Lich teleport. She asks where he got sent, and he says it's obvious, he's probably in the Lich's chamber. I thought the protagonist was far away, but actually he's in shock, staring right at the Lich. The design is intense, and the protagonist is sweating cold. The good part, the thing is asleep. The bad part, it looks strong, so if it wakes up, he's done for. And he's already inside the room. Better to stay perfectly still so he doesn't trigger some other spell or trap. Except suddenly the staff starts activating on its own. The protagonist has no idea why, and of course the Lich wakes up. Deep Web Sung Jin-woo glances back and the final boss stands up. He's alone in the hall and the thing is just pure aura. Meanwhile, Ares is running with Chloe, and she's asking what that sound is. He says the thing woke up. In the middle of the hall, the protagonist is frozen. That monster, now it makes sense why Ares said it was on a different level. The creature opens a crater right in front of him. The Lich is floating, points a finger. The protagonist looks to the side, but in the same second, a purple bomb comes flying at him. He realizes immediately. It's so huge there's no way to dodge, so he tries to defend himself and swings the bat at it. What is that? He sends it back like he's the baseball king. The Lich is stunned. The explosion goes off right on it. The protagonist looks, the smoke starts clearing, and the creature is completely intact. It put up some kind of barrier, and the protagonist is wondering how he's supposed to fight something that attacks like that. Then the monster points upward, and a bunch of tentacles start appearing, grabbing the protagonist's arms and legs. Immobilized, he gets stared down again. And then it says he has an unusual power. The source apparently is his heart. The monster comes right up to him, one hand on his chest, saying it'll have to open him up to find out. But then a black and white slash cuts through everything. Both of them look to the side, and look who shows up. Ares. The guy's aura is unreal. Now that you think about it, he got sent alone to face the Lich, so he really is that guy. The tentacles holding the protagonist fall apart and he drops to the floor. When he looks up, Ares is already saying, "Get out. From here on, I'll handle it." The Lich fires off a combo of attacks. Ares just stands there. Explosion, smoke everywhere. The monster thinks it was easy, but of course out of the smoke a sword flashes through and slices the Lich in half. Ares really is the final boss. The creature is split, but it regenerates, and it says the two of them are connected by the same cruel fate. So, was Ares the one who killed the Lich 100 years ago? Has it been this back and forth of killing and coming back for ages? No idea. But the monster is floating in the middle of the room, conjuring a massive energy blast above it. The protagonist asks what that is, and the Lich says today is the beginning of the end. A pillar of energy slams into the ground. Light everywhere, explosion like a spirit bomb. But Ares is still standing there untouched. He tanks it, and the entire room collapses until it's just the two of them. Then the Lich says, "You always face me alone, so why did you bring a stranger this time? He's probably some kind of trump card so you can erase me. But you're not the only one who prepared something different this time." It brings its four hands together and calls on the whisper of the void. In an instant, Ares finds himself in a warped dimension. Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen vibes. The creature says it brought him to a space meant only for the two of them. And Ares realizes that was the plan from the start. The Lich says yes, but it wants to know what's up with the gift he brought. The dagger meant to pierce its heart. Too bad that dagger is going to be pointed at him now. Wait, what? Ares is confused. Then he realizes he's being affected by some kind of mental magic. The problem is it clearly won't be easy to break. In a normal fight, he could take his time looking for a solution, but with Dan there, it's risky. He could die, and it's not fair, but there are a bunch of offers being thrown at the protagonist. The Lich is telling him to give up his life, flesh, and blood, and he'll receive all the power he needs. But then that blue Eastern-looking smoke shows up and says no. This vessel belongs to her. So now it's a 1v1. The creature tells the Lich it's brave to enter this domain without fear. The boss is just standing there, not understanding what's happening. Then Dan snaps back to reality. The spell breaks. And the Lich is complaining, asking what the hell Ares brought into this place. The creature is missing a piece of itself, and Ares sees his chance when he spots the core. One setup, one slash, and the monster gets cut in half. The Lich starts falling apart, saying that's impossible. Ares calls out to the protagonist, asking if he's okay, but the protagonist also wants to know what just happened. The staff is glowing, but now the Lich's smoke is moving toward him. Actually, all of the Lich's mana starts pouring into the protagonist. But it's different this time, because it wasn't the staff absorbing it, and now he's there in agony. Purple energy everywhere, and Ares is shocked by how much mana it is. Anyone who absorbed all that would have problems. The protagonist collapses. Ares runs over asking what happened, until someone calls for Lord Asclepius. Ars hesitates for a second, looks back, and there it is. We've got a sandal. Alright, let's go. Next chapter, we'll get to judge our artist's talent, because the next scene is the protagonist waking up with someone telling him to find that Akener again. He's in an empty room, confused, asking where Chloe and Ares are. He looks to the side. There's a backpack and a letter. Ares left a message. Something urgent happened. I had to leave. Thanks. Lich is defeated. The protagonist is like, wait, what do you mean? He just left me here in the dungeon? Scene switches to Ares asking what brings her here. Oh my god, artist, you've got a lot of talents. This is Miss Aquines, all shiny and tall, saying that Her Majesty is calling for Lord Asclepius. So that's Ares' other name. He asks why, out of nowhere. She answers that this isn't new, since when does Her Majesty have to ask permission or warn him about anything? He stares at her. She forms energy in her hand and says he'll hear the details at the palace. They're done here, so it's time to go. Then someone calls out to them, Chloe, asking if Dan is okay, and about the Lich and what they're going to do. Aquines greets her, and then they see Dan's body right there nearby. Chloe runs over to see what happened, but Ares tells her to calm down. He just passed out from the shock of absorbing mana. His life isn't in danger. Always nice to get a random Aquines shot while Ares is thinking he doesn't understand why. There's a lot he needs to figure out about what happened, and it's bothering him. But he doesn't have time, so he tells Chloe to grab a map, some food, and leave it next to Dan. While she does that, Aquines just watches, impressed that he seemed to have absorbed the Lich. That villain look shows up. She's gonna want to mess with the protagonist. She says the story is really interesting. Then she flinches when Ares says they can go now. So yeah, the competition over our guy has already started. Ares walks past her and says, you'd better drop your interest in the boy right now if you want to live a long life. So nobody's allowed to look at his bat swinger, huh? He steps through the portal while she just stares. As she leaves, she says she'll keep all that in mind. Back to the protagonist. He can't believe he got abandoned by the friends he spent 3 months with in the desert. How did they have the nerve to do that? But either way, he got to know them well, and he knows they must have their reasons. He noticed Ares beat the Lich easily, but in the end, was he basically useless? And also, weirdly this time, he doesn't feel stronger after absorbing. Still, he's got the whole dungeon to himself now, so there has to be something valuable. He finds the skull of a cursed elf heroic item, a legendary staff. They really left all the items there for him. But he's not interested because it's like those cursed items. The demon sword that screams, the dagger soaked in dark blood. So he decides it's better to keep the map and compass. Scared of getting corrupted? Honestly, you should be. Grab everything and sell it at the bar. The good part, the map shows the way to the forest. The bad part, it's insanely far. Next day, he smacks a skeleton and it dies instantly. It's been 3 months since he last saw Ares. He's really out here suffering in this desert. He crosses it all alone, and thanks to what he learned from Ares and Chloe, surviving is easy. Finally, after walking through that desolate place, he finds forests. Almost a year without seeing a single patch of green grass. He's in a peaceful, calm place with no monsters. Then there's an explosion up ahead. He already knew this world wasn't going to have any truly quiet place. Next scene, there's a blonde guy running for his life through the forest, panting, asking why that thing is still chasing him. A winged shadow passes over the ground, explosion behind him, he falls and rolls away. And yeah, I'd complain too. It's a wyvern, one of those badass forest dragons. The blonde guy is in shock. Even Sir Robert, the strongest knight, got killed without being able to do anything. And he, a simple bronze-level hunter, is destined to die. The poor guy came to the forest to hunt goblins, and now he's getting a wyvern roar to the face. He thinks it's over, until a furry shows up and smacks the monster. He asks what Alyosha is doing there. Everybody's got ugly names in this story. She turns and tells Alt to get up already and get his butt off the ground. He gets up but asks what she's doing there. He was supposed to be the distraction so she could escape alive. Oh no, this is way too furry. Look at that outfit. The artist really showed his true colors just because I praised his talent with Aquines. She says there's no way that bastard is getting all the points for himself. Alt gets emotional and says, okay then. So what's the plan to deal with this milk farm furry girl? She says if she had a plan, Robert wouldn't have died. All they're gonna do is run without looking back. He says fine. She counts to 1, then an attack comes in from her side and hits her dead on. I thought someone was gonna save our Parmalat furry girl, but she goes down for real. Alt thinks it's the end for them, but then 2 daggers come flying from deeper in the forest and nail the monster in the forehead. He looks back and sees it's Celis. So what kind of party is this, Alt? I wouldn't want to die either. If that's my adventurer group, I'd want to spend the rest of my life just killing goblins. She's Celis, and she apologizes for not being able to run away and abandon him too. Then the wyvern takes off, casts a shadow over her, and dives with its mouth wide open. A tear falls. She's sure this is where she dies. Until bat swing, relax. The Bat Maestro just arrived. Next scene, the 2 of them are thanking him. The protagonist's like, yeah, no problem. It wasn't a big deal. Alt's there holding his hand saying Dan is a lifesaver. If it weren't for him, that Parmalat furry girl would have died. But he's still shocked the kid took down a wyvern with a single attack. Was Dan some high-rank hunter or something? Probably gold or at least platinum. The main guy's just standing there while the 2 of them are like, so what's your rank, kid? Tell us. Until the main guy asks what this whole ranked hunter thing even is. They don't get it, and he's standing there with this dumb look like explain it to me. The kid's not great at keeping secrets, huh? So in the next scene, the guy's already like, wait, you came from another world? The main guy's kind of awkward about it, saying he figures it must be hard to believe, but it's true. Alt says, well, it doesn't really add up for him to save their lives just to tell a lie like that, so he believes him. Celis is carrying all the stuff, saying she never imagined teleportation actually worked, but I guess other dimensions really do exist. The others walk ahead saying, of course they do, like they know everything about this world either. The main guy realizes cases like his don't seem that common. Then the guy says that either way, what he did was terrifying. Not only did he kill the thing, he summoned a monster that devoured the corpse. And how did that turn into a club? Sounds like everyone from his world must be special. The main guy, not wanting to explain much, says maybe. Then Alt suddenly stops and says they've arrived. The eastern region of Lemania territory, known as Shiltrock. What a name. The main guy gets emotional, crying, and Alt asks what's wrong. Wasn't it as good as he expected? He says no, that's not it. It's just that it's been a long time since he's seen this many people. Right away the kid goes to eat meat, drink beer, happy as can be. He never thought the day would come when he'd legally drink in another country. It's probably because of how long he spent in that desert. But everything tastes amazing. Now he's waiting for Celis, who said she was going to take the others to do whatever. They need to treat the Parmalat furry girl and also retrieve Mr. Robert's body. Only then does the main guy realize the team lost a friend. Alt sighs, hands him some money, and says they'll meet up later. The main guy finishes his plate, and still nothing. He hopes they really do come back. That's when he notices all kinds of different people, other races. There's a Gragas-looking guy. There's a bunny woman. There are furries, so it's pretty obvious he's definitely not on Earth. Either way, he's exhausted, so next thing you know, it's the next day. It's been years since he slept in a bed. And early in the morning, someone's knocking on his door. He gets up to see who it is, and it's the furry girl and the archer asking if he slept well. They're both staring at him, and he's just standing there not saying anything. Next scene, they're going downstairs, and Alt calls him over. They tell him the furry girl wanted to thank him in person. She's kind of awkward, saying it's not exactly that. I don't get it, so she's not going to thank him, apparently. But Alt says he wasn't in a great state yesterday to thank him either, but that's what they're here for. The main guy says it's fine. Thanks to the coins they gave him, he got a good night's sleep. Then the guy properly introduces himself. Alt, a human from the team The Righteous Adventurers. My god, what a team name. Sounds like they're just asking to die. The Parmalat furry girl is Alyosha, and the archer, also human, is Celis. The main guy asks for an explanation about hunters and ranks. They get kind of awkward. Not sure what he is. He might not know, but we do, so I'm not going to explain much. Yeah, it goes from bronze to mithril. There are monsters to kill and hunters to kill them. Some want money, but most end up dead. It's a dangerous world, same old story. And obviously, since they're bronze rank, they barely make enough to live. And these broke people just found a way to make money. So they go, hey Dan, wanna join our party? The main guy's confused. Me. The guy who insta-killed a dragon. Why would they want someone like me? Alt says it's nothing crazy. It's just that they can help him adapt to this world, since he needs money, and teach him how things work and all that. The main guy thinks, well, first he needs to get stable, and only then start looking for a way back to his world. The furry girl suddenly stands up, saying she knows he's strong. Celis said he landed a hit on the wyvern, so they won't be in danger. But then someone suddenly yells, liar, out of nowhere. Someone slams the table asking what kind of story is this about killing a dragon with a slap. A blonde girl shows up saying if they're going to lie, at least make it believable. The furry girl tells Mary to stay out of it, and Mary shoots back that they shouldn't be sharing a table with a pet. The girls from the faction Oppressive Nobles, at least the name fits. The two of them are furious, ready to fight, while Mary looks at the main guy and asks if he's the one who killed the wyvern. He says yes. She asks if he brought any proof. If he sold its parts, for example, he'd make a lot of money. Obviously there are no parts, and Alt tries to make an excuse about circumstances, but Mary immediately says now it's clear they're lying. Like they wouldn't bring items from a monster like that when they're worth so much. The main guy says that's enough, and tells her to shut up. She asks what happens if she doesn't. What's he going to do? He's ready to throw hands with her like he's about to start beating up the city's lowless. Then suddenly some orange-haired guy shows up, apologizing. The main guy watches, not really understanding. Mary tells Brian not to get involved in other people's conversations. He apologizes back, saying it kind of looks like she's the one who interrupted their conversation, doesn't it? He's also from the Oppressive Nobles, so you can't trust him either. They're trying to leave, but the main guy calls out to him, grabs his shoulder with that huge hand and says he was in the middle of a conversation. Brian doesn't like that, looks back and says they can leave it here. They have no idea they're messing with the king of turning serious with the club. Everyone stares each other down until someone puts a hand on Brian's foot, saying everyone's tense. What the hell is this? It's a 60-centimeter tall person telling him to let it go. It was Mary's fault anyway, so it's better to forget it. Brian sighs and apologizes to the main guy. Then the girl with the already unlocked 2.0 hearing says this story about him killing the wyvern with one attack is hard to believe. But either way, let it go. The main guy realizes the most mature one is the tiny girl. He looks around and sees Alt and Celis looking awkward and says, alright, then let's drop it. But he also says to get that damn Mary away from him. Then he sits down and Mary wants to get to the important part. So tell me, how do I become a hunter? The main guy realizes it's simple. You just pay a registration fee so you can start taking missions. Alt asks if he has the money because what he gave him wasn't much. The main guy, poor thing, has 1 coin. But the guy says 1 gold coin like that is worth 1,000 crown coins and 10 crowns are a bronze. My god, it's complicated, but 1 is 1,000. He asks if that's enough. The guy says yes, since the registration fee is 500 coins. So they're already getting up saying they're leaving because they need to prepare for the next subjugation. The main guy says he doesn't even know what's going on. Looks like he already got accepted into the group and he didn't even say yes. But they'll meet again in 3 days. He's shocked it's that long. And the guy explains the place they're in is the Guild Inn. Most people there are hunters, so it's good for him to meet people, look at missions and stuff. If in 3 days he still doesn't have a group, he can go with them. He thanks them and says he'll think about it. They leave, and he's thinking it's way too much information. And on top of that, he found out he's broke in this world. Since half his money is going to this adventurer registration thing, he starts calculating food, the cost of meat, staying there, and realizes he's screwed. He barely arrived in the city, and there's a good chance he'll end up a beggar. So he gets ready for these subjugation missions, because he needs to perform well. So he buys some armor that basically only serves to hold the club on his back, and he feels comfortable like that. The woman says it fits great. Of course she does. She's a seller, like she'd say otherwise. He leaves thinking, well, there aren't many options, it's the only thing he can afford. Now in the city, where does he even start? The plan is to make money, so obviously he should talk to the furry girl behind the counter. He slams the big paper down on the table. Why is he blinking like that? Yeah, this guy's a furry. You know it. He says he'd like to make a request. But he picked a mission with a better payout, silver, and obviously he can't do it because his rank is trash. So the kid starts at level 1 of level 1, carrying sacks of sand. Then he goes to clean cow poop. The kid even goes to wash clothes. And no way, if it were me, I'd already be swinging my club right in everyone's face, so they'd see what I'm working with. The day ends and he's exhausted. This is harder than a dungeon, and after all that, he earns 30 copper coins. That doesn't even cover where he's staying. He sees a street stall with skewers and thinks, 1 is fine. He worked all day. Alright, he only spent 10% of his pay, 3 coins, and he's shocked the food in this world is really good. But I mean, he ate in the modern world, so the stuff here is seriously well made. But then someone suddenly approaches from behind. A strange hand raises a compass that points straight to the kid, and here comes a tough little one. The main guy's cheeks are puffed out, asking for more food, wanting to know what the secret is. Great, now I'm scared of what I said. With the way she's tugging his shirt based on her height, don't get any ideas. He looks over when the person says she found him, and then he sees a dwarf elf witch. Good lord, how many traits does this girl have? And she says she found her destiny. What do you mean? Then it cuts to the two of them talking, with him asking what this thing is about him being the destined hero. She just says he is, and he asks for proof. She says it's her master's prophecy. The compass pointed to the person who would save this world, and it guided her to him, so it can't be wrong. The main guy says that clearly looks suspicious, actually. Then the girl says he has no idea. Her master is Drenis, the prophetic witch. He has no clue who that is, and asks if she's famous or something. The girl says the witch has never been wrong. When her shoulder hurt, she'd say it was going to rain, and it always rained. The main guy says that's old lady stuff, and she tells him to cut that out. But he asks, okay, so I'm the hero. Then what happens? The girl says her master ordered her to help the hero. Whatever he's going to do, she'll help him with the magic she has. He asks how she can say that without even knowing what he wants to do. She says it's obvious he wants to save the world. He cuts her off and says no. His goal is to go back to his world. There goes the kid with no secrets again. He tells her everything too about being from another world and all that. And if that's the case, his goals don't line up with hers. So bye. The person she wants isn't him. Up above, that weirdo Mary is watching everything, saying the poor girl got rejected. Meanwhile, Brienne tells her to stop sticking her nose into other people's business. She says he doesn't understand. Nothing entertains her more than minding other people's lives. He suggests she start taking care of paperwork. She says that's what he's there for. Nobles like her have much more important goals. Brian, though, is interested in the fact the girl down there said she's a disciple of the witch Drenis. Scene changes to the woman handing over the compass, telling her to take it with her because it would guide her to destiny. Ariel was supposed to find the person who would help her in return. Meanwhile, our boy is out there lifting sacks and running around working like an honest man. Seriously, pull out the club and smack a monster so they'll hire you for the love of God. While he's over there working for pocket change, Ariel is watching everything, totally confused. Why is this kid doing all this stuff? Was he broke or something? How could someone like that be her destiny? Even the little witch doesn't want the poor ones. There was really nothing left for the boy. Then Dan calls out to her, asking what she's doing there. Is she really going to keep following him all day? Go on, get out of here. Go back to your master or whatever, because I'm not your so-called hero. That's when Ariel says her master passed away. He gets awkward and apologizes, but she stands up and asks if he really wants to go back to his world that badly. If that's the case, she'll help him. Her master said that in the end she should help no matter what, so it's fine. That's what she's going to do. Okay. Next scene, we're back at the Adventurers Guild, and Alt is getting ready. Celis comes in saying she couldn't find Dan, so she guesses he left. Alt says he thinks it's strange, but he smiles. Then Mary suddenly shows up saying the whole world was talking about how Dan killed Inver with one hit, and now he disappeared when people found out the truth. Alt asks why she's fully armored. She says it's obvious. Hasn't he heard the rumors that there are monsters all over the place? That's why they, the oppressive nobles, were hired to check out the region. And an important part of the mission is keeping an eye on rookie hunters who might end up dying because they're too weak. Alt says he can take criticism, but he can't criticize the king of swinging the bat. And then Veronica, the girl, looks curious and wants to know who this Dan is that everyone keeps talking about. Celis yells that Dan is the person who saved everyone there. Mary replies that their savior is out there flirting. First he was talking to the mission girl, then he was talking to some little witch about destiny, and apparently he's off adventuring somewhere else and forgot about the group. Celis, though, is already going full yandere, saying Dan told her his story, that he came from another world, doesn't know anyone, so how is he in some romance and all that? But then she notices everyone looks kind of scared because the boy walks into the room with his little witch. He greets them like, "Hey everyone, I'm here today." Alt is super happy to see the prode he likes so much and asks if he's late. Mary is furious, calling them traitors, and now everyone's confused, because it looks like she wanted to form a group with Alt's people, but now they teamed up with Dan and his witch. Mary starts calling him a cold-blooded traitor, a scumbag. Alt says they never forced anyone to do anything, but first he wants to know why there's a witch elf there of all things. How did the two of them meet? The protagonist says it's a long story, but it's not long at all. The witch just says, "I was looking for him. Destiny guided me to the boy." Everyone thinks it's some incredible romance, while Celis is at peak Celis already in love, and the protagonist is trying to defend himself, while Brienne is thinking this kid really is powerful. Alt asks Ariel's name and whether she's going to join the subjugation team, and she says yes, since she's helping Dan. Everyone's thinking this is what a devoted wife looks like. She just arrived and she's already willing to put herself at risk for him. The blonde guy thanks her. Since that milkmaid Fury girl can't help because she's injured, having one more person is good. The protagonist apologizes for not warning them. The blonde guy says it's fine, and the time has come. First, let's talk about goblins. They're green, they kill creatures and steal, and that's what we're here to kill in the forest. The problem is, they didn't expect the whole noble group to come along. They kinda want to complain, while Mary keeps nagging that it's an honor. The good part, because I know everyone's gonna get wrecked, is that it'll probably be our boy who has to save the day. Alt tells our friend that as annoying as they really are a more advanced team. They're apparently the fastest group to reach gold rank. The bad part is Mary keeps bothering everyone, even the elf. Alt starts putting together the plan, he and Dan up front, the mages in the back with the archers. They just need to know what kind of magic the little mage has. He asks like, "What do you even do?" Normally mages have destruction spells, enchantments, alchemy, necromancy, what's your thing? He's never worked with a mage, so he needs to know to shape the strategy. She says she'll explain, but suddenly something cuts across the screen and an arrow almost hits someone in the face. Dude, absolute Chad defense. Relax, the boy is here. My god, that goblin is ugly. But these ones look like their left eye fought their right eye, and each one ran off in a different direction. Their tribe's dad really needs a makeover. Brian is getting ready, until Mary says no. For now they're going to see what they can do. A big goblin charges, takes one to the face, drops protagonist, killed it easily. In a second, all the little green guys are dead, ugly and weak. Hard life being a goblin. Alt praises everyone's work, while Celis thinks it's weird they got kind of ambushed. Normally goblins aren't brave enough to attack adventurers. They just run. Alt says they like attacking old people and kids, which is why they have to find the nest and wipe it out. But he notices the noble group looks bored. The protagonist says, well, let's keep moving. What does a goblin nest look like? But everyone staring at him has a different expression. The protagonist is standing in front of a red barrier. Some kid who's a goblin, or some kind of mix. He has no idea. Alt yells at him to look behind him. The protagonist turns, bored, and sees a giant hand coming to smash his head. Then Mary teleports in and throws a spear that knocks the creature's attack off course. Now she's gonna act like she's amazing for the next 3 years. The protagonist asks what she's doing, but the noble's already put a hand on his shoulder. Hey kid, let us handle this. You can't deal with this. And that hits his ego. It's a stone mountain troll, and it's gonna be hard for them to handle. Mary tells everyone not to drop their guard. The protagonist says he's joining too, but Alt says no, he'll just get in the way. Even if he's strong, this is a group that's fought together for a long time, so they're going to trust themselves. The protagonist looks kind of regretful, while the little witch just watches. Brian calls for Veronica, who closes her eyes and starts casting a battle spirit buff. Everyone gets a golden aura, and it's apparently incredible, because Alt looks impressed. The monster jumps at Mary and hits her. She braces, pulls up the big shield while the tiny girl is there, basically microscopic, watching this little arrow fly past Brian's shoulder and hit the monster right in the eye. It charges, jumps onto Mary's shield, she launches it upward, and as it falls, Brian slashes its other eye. Now it's basically blind. The protagonist is impressed. That was the strength of a real team. Or at least it should be. After seeing Ares who disappeared since that dungeon scene, that was what real strength looked like. The problem with trolls is their regeneration. They'll recover their vision soon. The narrator decides to explain that this group is known for strategy and composition. Their fatal problem though is firepower. They use crossbows, daggers, some mediocre spears, so none of their attacks really explode or kill the thing in one shot. And Mary forgot nobody uses a ground lance like that because it's meant to be used on horseback. Luckily, they've got a bunch of buffs and strategy. She gets another speed buff, a strength buff, and she's confident. She kicks back her little night clogs, rockets forward, and wow. She basically turned into the horse. I was about to disrespect her, but okay then. She pierced the boss. She makes a crater, then starts posing with her aura like she's the greatest, and then she spits blood. So this is a gold rank group. You killed one monster, and you're exhausted like that? Brian asks if she's okay, and she says of course she is. She's a noble, and a noble always has to be an example. She goes to speak and immediately takes an arrow right in the middle of the shoulder. The cute act is over. She collapses to her knees, looks ahead, and sees the forest is packed with a whole bunch more trolls and goblins. Brian is confused. Why is there an army in front of them? Straight up Attack on Titan scene. Alt can't understand where all of this came from. Mary calls for Veronica, telling her to grab Aaron everyone and get out of there. She says she'll buy time, already sure. She's going to die. Brian asks if she's lost her mind, but she cuts him off, telling him not to open his mouth again. She's just going to do her duty as a noble, but someone's about to cut through all that drama. The protagonist asks what this is. Why are they humiliating him so much? Why do they think he won't do anything? His group is watching, curious what he's planning. Mary tells him to stop being stubborn and leave. This fight is impossible, and his weapon is filthy. What is that thing on his back? Even if he gets lucky and kills one or two, there are like 100. But the kid is going full Sung Jin Woo. Compared to the Lich, this is nothing. She tells him to stop with the talk, the stories, there's no time. Right then, one of the trolls comes from behind, a huge hand about to grab them, but the protagonist steps in and swings, cuts the thing's arm clean off, and it disappears. The nobles are all like, what the hell, while the big troll suffers off in the distance. The protagonist asks the big veteran what the plan is. When she looks, she sees everyone's fired up to fight. Alt and the others say they'll do their best. Not that it's much. I still don't get why we're listening to Mary. The protagonist could just jump in, or maybe not. Maybe he's not that strong yet. She orders the back line not to let the goblins get too close, and says she and Dan will handle the front line. But then Ariel steps forward and says she'll take care of it. Is she OP? She smiles a little. This feels like it's about to turn into a meme. No way she's actually going to do it, because she says you were asking what my specialty is. She says she doesn't have one because there isn't any magic she can't use. She starts flying, activating a mana boost, a focus boost, an elemental boost. Flames appear on her staff. She casts something like Dragon Flame Manifestation. Dude, she wraps a pillar of fire around the entire forest. This is an environmental crime. Call the wildlife agency. The fauna and flora just got executed. The protagonist just sees the pointy-eared girl smile and say it's handled. Poor Mary has her ego completely destroyed and drops to the ground like a piece of trash. Next chapter, we find out it's a lethal poison, a toxin with no cure in this area. Someone says they did everything they could, but it'll be hard to guarantee she stays alive. There's a doctor in the room with Brand. The protagonist says he hopes she'll be okay. Since she's a noble, he thought she'd have a mansion, important people treating her. Why is she in this place? That's when Hearing 2.0 says she's not a noble anymore. The protagonist is confused. What do you mean she's not? Everyone's calling her my lady, obeying her non-stop. Aaron says yes, she was born a noble, and everyone there used to be her attendant. But that was in the past. Flashback, we see Brian was just some lost little servant in life. Guards are escorting a carriage, talking nonsense, when suddenly one of them takes an arrow to the neck. A blue banner rises, knights appear, and in the next scene, everyone's dead on the ground. Someone calls for the Lord and asks what they're going to do with the ones who were imprisoned. The person on the horse tells his father they were a bunch of criminals and should be executed. Then one of them walks up to Brian and tells him to say what crimes he committed. The guy on the right says they were just small-time bandits. They only went around looking for bodies on the battlefield. The guy gets his head cut off right there. The other one next to him is shaking, while Brian is standing there emotionless. The blonde guy says the kid was way too young to look like a candle with no flame. Did he really have no connection to that life? What was his crime? While Dan spills every secret, this guy's willing to die just so he won't talk about his crimes. They can order him killed and he still won't say a word. Or is he scared of killing a child for no reason? Out of nowhere, that knight is already ready to draw his sword, while the blonde guy laughs, saying at least he was bold. He liked him, so he'll be the perfect gift for his daughter. Yeah, we already know what's about to happen. Kid, how do you say, I found a criminal slave on the street. A really great gift for my daughter, for sure. Go to a store, buy her a little toy car, a doll. Bran, on the other hand, could only think, wow. So now he's a slave, life really meant nothing. Meanwhile, our emotionless Sigma boy is in the bathtub, not understanding what's going on. I think this is a bit earlier when some maids are saying he stinks. How's he supposed to meet the young lady like that? First he had to get cleaned up. He kept thinking that a place that can bathe a slave really has money to burn. Who is this young lady? And why are they trusting a criminal like him? One of the soldiers warns him, you'd better never disrespect the young miss or death will be the least of your worries. And then Mary shows up like, I don't know, 7 years old, excited to meet her present. Seriously, this father is not right in the head. So Mary's there tapping his chest saying he looks really skinny, while he's thinking she's weirdly small and she's already annoying him. But she's smiling, saying that since she's a gift from her father, she'll take care of him. She asks his name. He says his name is Jared, and she says it's not an elegant name. She stops to think, and there it goes. She gives him another name. From now on, he was Briand, and the artist is drawing all these cute little scenes like it's all, "Aw, how funny." She's naming the slave. This isn't funny. It's sad. Even Briand himself thought that name was absolute trash, the one she gave him. Next chapter starts saying, they say humans are creatures that adapt, and now instead of killing people in the streets, he spends his day doing housework he'd never done before. And instead of having to fight just to eat old food, he wakes up in the morning to soup and fresh bread. Instead of running into people who want to kill him, now he's surrounded by kind people. A maid says hi while he just stares like he's not used to it. She asks if he's getting used to things, what he thinks, but he only says there's nothing to complain about. She takes a look and puts her hand on his face, saying that apparently he really is better. His forehead was showing it, no idea what she means by that, but he turns bright red. He asks what she's doing all of a sudden. And then he stops to think there's only one problem with this new life. Someone yells his name, and when he looks it's Mary, saying she wants some sweets. Brian says the problem is obviously her, calling him all day long. He tells her to ask the maids why does she always call him. But Mary says her mom told her she can't have any maids, and those ones don't listen to him. He just says fine and brings her some pasta. She's all happy eating, saying she knew he's the best. Only he can sneak in and get all the food she wants. Was he some legendary outlaw before he came here? He doesn't answer, and he tells us the viewers that this is how he stopped being Jared. Some time passes. He's watering flowers, Mary calls him, but now she's older, saying her father is coming back from the campaign. He says he was looking forward to it. And then he arrives, the head of House Chatillon named Leslie, along with his wife Catherine Chatillon. The old man says it's good to be back home. Mary calls for her father. He's surprised, runs over and hugs her. He says she's grown so much he barely recognized her. Brian gives a small hello with a nod, and someone asks if she's only happy when she sees her father. When he looks to the side, there are the two brothers who actually seem pretty decent, and I don't get it. This family is way too put together. How is she supposed to get fired from it? The brothers are Leon and Reynold. Everyone's patting her head, asking how she's doing. One of them walks past Brian and thanks him for taking care of his sister. He gets kind of awkward, but then Leslie is already calling everyone to eat. Table set, bites of meat, smiles, laughter, everyone relaxed, happy. They clear the plates. Leslie calls for him and says he wants to talk. But it's at night, in the bath, that he says it's been 5 years since Brian's been here. How's he been living in this place? Brian answers that he couldn't ask for anything more, and it's all thanks to the Lord. He gave life to a man who was already dead and a reason to keep standing. Then the Lord looks at him and says, since he gave him life, would he be willing to spend it for him? Brian flinches like he's thinking, well, now I'm screwed. A horse comes up in front of the castle with an army. Yeah, the squad showed up to finish you off. There isn't much you can do except hit like on this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers. Activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.